What is up, guys? It is the Blue Bloods here with our first Week 9 college football preview. And you know what that means. It is the game of the week right here on the Blue Bloods. And in case you're new, what that means is you can comment your score prediction. Who is going to win below. If you hit the score on the head, get it correct, you can win our $50 Venmo giveaway right here on the Blue Bloods. And of course, there's no other way for this matchup not to be the game of the week. We got number 6 Michigan traveling to face number 8 Michigan State as the Wolverines are a 4.5 point favorite right now in a game that kicks off at 11 a.m. live on Fox. It's the big noon kickoff on Fox right now. So man, we have one not only one of the best and biggest matchups of the year thus far, but a rivalry that could not be any bigger with stakes any higher because the winner instantly becomes a college football playoff favorite, while the loser is probably going to need some help and potentially could be eliminated. So this could be a college football playoff elimination matchup. And let's set the stage here, man. The Wolverines come in 7-0, 4-0 in the Big Ten, and are coming off a huge win over Northwestern in the Big House. But the recipe has been simple for the Wolverines: tough defense, a strong rushing attack. Week in and week out, has this hardball led Wolverine team. They finally have a chance to quiet all the haters, including myself. A lot of people have been tough on Harbaugh and him not winning the Big Ten yet, him not making a college football playoff run, everything. They have a chance this weekend to really put themselves on the map and put themselves right in the thick of the race, as they're already right on outside the top five, and they potentially could jump in with a big win this weekend in East Lansing. But the Spartans also come in 7-0, 4-0 in the Big Ten. They're coming off of a solid win over Indiana on the road in Bloomington, and they have leaned on Kenneth Walker, a potential Heisman candidate. I believe he has the fourth or fifth best odds right now. And a bend and don't break approach on the defensive side of the ball has this Mel Tucker led Spartans team right into a college football playoff contention, and only after like one season in East Lansing. Mel Tucker has been named candidate for the LSU job, and many people think he's going to be one of the best candidates in the country for many openings. But he has built a real contender here in Michigan State in just a very, very short time. This team plays physical. This team plays tough. They were going to grind it out against you, and Peyton Thorne has been one of the most surprising quarterback developments in the Big Ten. When you look at the history of this matchup, though, the Wolverines have historically dominated this series. I mean, they lead the series 71-37. They also have 5 ties in the history. And this series stretches all the way back to 1898. But the last 4 matchups have seen both teams split those games. And last season, the Spartans pulled out a 3-point victory in Ann Arbor to beat the Wolverines. But now that the stage is set, let's get into the keys for victory here. The key for the Wolverines has to be simple. You already know what it is. It starts with the rushing attack. And this game, I mean, you already know what Michigan State's is going to be, is the rushing attack, but this is going to come down to who can control the game with their rushing attack, whose quarterback is able to make the handful of throws to win the game, and who doesn't turn the football over. That is it. But the Wolverines are going to pound the football, let McNamara work up over the top of the defense when they load the box, and just let him, distribute the ball, never put it in harm's way, and let the playmakers at wide receiver go make the plays when they try to put it up through the air. But when you look at this rushing attack for the Wolverines, it's one of the best in the country, averaging over 253 yards per game. They're averaging over 5.5 yards per carry, and they rank top 5 in the country right now in yards per game. That's the type of elite rushing attack the Wolverines have. It starts with the great offensive line they have. This offensive line has been the most underrated aspect of this team. But you look at Blake Corum, 729 rushing yards, over 6 yards per carry, and 10 rushing touchdowns, while Hassan Haskins, 602 on the ground, 5 yards per carry, and also 10 rushing touchdowns. I mean, these guys are putting up major, major statistics week in and week out. Both of these guys have been damn near unstoppable. So that's going to be the key for Michigan, is to lean on these two playmakers they have at running back, and they're going to give you one after the other, and just pound it away. And they're so explosive that if you fail to, hit your gap, you fail to, play sideline to sideline, they're going to take it to the house on you because these guys are electric when the defense is not on. And they've been so consistent this year, and not many teams have even had a real answer to stop this running attack. And if they have, it's been early in games, and Michigan will just try to wear your defensive front seven down until they bust something. But then on the other side, as great as the rushing attack has been, the passing attack may not be the best in the country. It may not be gaudy stats. It may not be just, Heisman worthy or anything like that. But this passing attack has been able to make plays when needed thus far. It starts with Cade McNamara and how efficient he's been this season. Over 63% completion percentage, over 1,100 yards, 5 touchdowns, 1 pick, and a rushing touchdown. And last year, there was a lot of QB issues at Michigan, especially when Joe Milton was the starting quarterback. But McNamara really came in and gave this Wolverines team a stabilizing force. He's really thrived in his role for the Wolverines this year. And the number one thing is just hitting on those few throws he needs to hit each week and not turning the ball over. He knows he doesn't have to be the superstar. He knows the run game is going to be the focal point and that he just has to play his role in this offense and everything is going to work out for Michigan. And the number one thing, and I mentioned this earlier, is how great the offensive line has played, because the number one key is protecting McNamara. They've done a great job of that. Only 3 sacks allowed this season. And when he's kept clean in the pocket, McNamara is completing almost 70% of his passes, has 3 touchdowns, 5 big-time throws, and over 39 first downs generated. He's at his best when he feels comfortable in the pocket, and this Michigan O-line has done an outstanding job of doing that. Now, this offense is almost entirely predicated on the run being established first. And so the Wolverines have to be able to establish the run to set up their passing attack and allow their offense to operate at this peak level. So this is going to be a huge factor for Michigan on Saturday. Now, on the other sideline, you already know the Spartans. It lies in the rushing attack too. When you have a legit Heisman candidate running back, the key is to get your top playmaker going. Just like anytime you cover Texas, it is Bijan Robinson. In a game of this magnitude, you want your best player to have the ball in his hands, and that is Kenneth Walker III right now, and he is going to be the key for the Spartans. Now, they're also averaging over 200 yards per game on the ground, almost 5.5 yards per carry as well. But the Spartans do live off the play action a lot more than Michigan. This accounts for almost 40% of their dropbacks. So the run game really plays a bigger, even a bigger role for Michigan State in setting up the offense. But you look at Walker, almost 1,000 yards rushing already, over 6.5 yards per carry, 9 rushing touchdowns, and has a receiving touchdown, so you have him 10 total on the year. Right now, he leads the country in yards rushing per game, and he's top 15 in rushing touchdowns in the country. And on top of that, they have a rotational guy in Jordan Simmons, 183 rushing yards, about 5 yards per carry. But the thing for Michigan is Walker has to get going. You cannot let this stout Michigan front slow down what you do best. You cannot let them take away your identity, because you can't make this a thing where Peyton Thorne has to go back there and throw it 30, 40 times. You have to be able to establish the line of scrimmage, and this is by far Michigan State's toughest test in terms of front seven matchup. Now, the passing game, though, let me just say this, is better than anyone could have guessed. Peyton Thorne won the QB job and has been, really, for me, one of the breakout players in the Big Ten as well, completing over 61% of his passes, over 1,700 yards. He's averaging 10 yards a throw, 15 touchdowns, only 4 turnovers, and 2 rushing touchdowns. He's top 20 in the country in passer efficiency, which is a huge improvement from some of the action he saw last year. He is putting it in the end zone. He is protecting the football, and that's something that a lot of people question whether he could do. And he has been leaps and bounds better than what we saw in limited action last year. And for him to come out and play like this when he had to battle for this job with Anthony Russo all spring and fall, this shows that Mel Tucker and the staff picked the right guy, because Peyton Thorne has delivered. And the play action concepts, like I said, account for over 40% of his dropbacks. So that's why the run game has to be great. And he thrives in play action with a 83.3 passing grade, according to Pro Football Focus, in which he's thrown for almost 1,000 yards, over 12 yards of completion, 10 of his touchdowns, only 1 turnover, and 10 big time throws off the play action. This is where Michigan State generates their explosive plays through the air. So if you can't get Kenneth Walker going, that real explosive threat that you have at Michigan State really kind of dissipates. So they have to establish the run game to allow Peyton Thorne and these talented wide receivers to get up downfield against a very talented Michigan defense. Now, the Spartans have to improve from last weekend. Walker has to be explosive. The offensive line has to be more consistent, and Thorne has to be a playmaker. Indiana at times really gave them some rough stretches where they couldn't establish the run and they couldn't do what they wanted to do. Walker was held under 100 yards rushing. Walker's going to have to run for 100 to 150 this weekend if the Spartans want to win this game. And Thorne cannot have any mistakes. He cannot throw any interceptions because that is just going to put them in a real tough spot because the team who wins the time of possession battle, controls this game, is going to take a huge step forward in establishing themselves as one of the top Big Ten teams in the country this year. So the matchup for me, it could have went either O-line for me, but since Michigan's D-line is a little bit better than Michigan State's right now, in my opinion, I'm going to say the Michigan State O-line against this Wolverines D-line is the matchup to watch. They have a better defense, and the Spartans are going to have a much tougher test controlling the line of scrimmage than Michigan is, because if they let the Wolverines shut down the run game, it's going to be a long day for the Spartans. Now, the unique approach that the Spartans have taken. I don't know how many other channels have talked about this. I'm sure some of the Michigan State channels have. They've taken a very unique approach with the O-line, using like a two-group unit almost, in which like 10 different guys have played significant snaps throughout the season. They really have like an 8-9-man rotation on the offensive line. They've played well, though. Only 7 sacks, 2 QB hits, 28 hurries, and 37 pressures allowed this season through the first 7 games. And the key pieces start with Jared Horst at tackle, 0 sacks and 4 pressures allowed. AJ Okuri, 1 sack and 2 pressures. And then also Kevin Jarvis with 1 sack and 7 pressures. These guys are going to have to, this whole unit is going to have to deliver one of their best performances of the season. There's been stretches of inconsistency, but that cannot be the case this weekend. They're going to have to find, if I'm imagining Mel Tucker, they're going to have to find like the 5 to maybe 7 guys that are playing the best and have those guys in the game. And you're going to have to figure it out very early, because you can't risk Michigan jumping up on you a few possessions, because with the way they run the ball, you're just not going to have time to make a comeback. And when you look at their matchup, which is the Wolverines D-line, they've played extremely well. And when you're anchored by one of the best edge rushers in the entire country in Aiden Hutchinson, the Wolverines are going to be a problem this weekend. They got 16 sacks, 33 QB hits, and over 70 pressures over the first 7 games of the season. And that all starts with Aiden Hutchinson, one of the highest graded pass rushers in the country with a 93.5 PFF pass rush grade. 6 sacks, 7 QB hits, 21 pressures, and almost 20 tackles for the season. He is a problem. You're going to have to account for Aiden Hutchinson coming off the edge, or he is going to wreak havoc in the backfield. Then you also have David, I believe it's Ojabu, off the edge too. 5 sacks for him, 10 pressures. So off the edge is where Michigan State is going to have to control the line of scrimmage, because if you let these edge rushers get upfield and get more, going to have a very, very tough time winning this game. And this defense right now is allowing less than 120 yards per game on the ground, less than 4 yards per carry, and they're allowing less than half a touchdown on the ground per season, 0.4 to be exact. So the front 7 is very strong for Michigan. So Michigan State is going to have to really step up their play from what they showed last week. If Michigan State can win the line of scrimmage, rotate those offensive linemen to keep fresh bodies in and win the line of scrimmage, Michigan State is going to have a great shot at winning this game in East Lansing. But this Michigan front 7, man, they have done a great job shutting offenses down all season long. So that is going to be a key. And can they win the line of scrimmage? If they can start getting the Thorne, force them into mistakes, Michigan has a chance to really take over this game. So when I look at this game, I was dreading picking this because I can see it going either way. But for me right now, I think this. So both rushing attacks are great. You look at Michigan's averaging 250, Michigan State's averaging over 200. I think it's going to come down to which defense can make a stop, can force a turnover. And right now, I trust the Wolverines defense, who's allowing less than 300 yards per game, to make a stop when needed, more so than the Michigan State defense allowing up over 400 yards per game. So for me, Michigan just makes a handful of stops, forces one or two mistakes for Michigan State to come away with a very close win. I really think they're going to pull away a little bit late just because of their run game, score a late touchdown. So I have Michigan right now winning this game 30-21 over Michigan State, a 9-point win for the Wolverines in East Lansing. So I got the Wolverines 30, Spartans 21 in a huge Big Ten matchup this weekend in East Lansing. So, guys, since this is our game of the week, make sure to go ahead and comment your score predictions and game analysis below. Love to interact with y'all. Also, like the video now. So, like it, subscribe, comment your score prediction to enter our Venmo giveaway. If you predict the score right, $50 Venmo giveaway right here on the Blue Bloods. But, guys, I appreciate y'all tuning in. More previews coming later today and this week. But for right now, man, the Blue Bloods are out.